27th, 2024. I'm going to be your host. I'm Dana. Welcome. You can call into these live shows. We do 5 days a week typically for over a decade on nuclear. That's 709-589-4406. 709. We're in Canada. A story. Shot this video exploring with Josh. We covered him quite a few years ago. 2017 maybe or something like that. And anyway, I come across this story was posted 6 days ago. You can kind of see that there. Let's go over here, actually. It was posted 6 days ago. I got my little reminder. Got to get a different. I got lots of colors there. I got the worst color you could use. So what lies within Fukushima red zone? What lies? And he told so many lies, it's probably going to take the whole show just to get through it. Now, this video was probably done, I think it's 2019. We covered him when he had I'll get it. He had 2.36 million subscribers. He currently got 4.5 million subscribers. So we covered the last time he went to Fukushima. That was really outrageous, the deception. But back then he was naive. After that he wasn't naive anymore. So now he's doing it. I'm assuming he's getting paid to do what he's doing, to tell the lies that he's telling, and the harm possibly 1 million people. That, like, he's probably killed several hundred of his viewers with the lies that he told, that they believed those lies and acted on them about radiation. He's definitely in the category of a serial killer at this stage, because there's implications when you tell lies to huge audiences like he done. So this entire video is it's stunning. Witness the incredible progress being made to restore the region. So you can't restore a nuclear wasteland. It just doesn't work that way. Hanford is a nuclear wasteland, the national laboratory, and it's 485 square miles or something, because you can't restore it. So I was watching the video and I was taking screen captures just to see where this goes to, and I was really disappointed. We're back in Fukushima. This time we have permission. YouTube doesn't let people get big audiences like that unless they're public relation firms are incredibly naive. And he could be incredibly naive. That wouldn't surprise me. But it wouldn't surprise me if he was paid a lot of money and he just believed all the lies. And unless he made the video himself, if he didn't, like, TEPCO's got a lot of rules and regulations, the public relation firms. A lot of those pictures might have been seized, for instance. That wouldn't have been unusual. To access any building, anything we want, including inside, that's an interesting statement. You can go anywhere you want. Yeah, go do whatever you want. We don't care. It's all good. We trust you. That's not words we're familiar with after 13 years of covering this stuff, right? I think he's the only guy I've seen. Even if he's just naive, he's still a serial killer, because of the people that would have ate the food from Japan eventually will get sick, and they might not have any children because of it. And because this stuff is latent, it might not show up for a decade or 2 or 3. It will show up though. And he was in the nuclear wasteland. This guy named Cody, we covered them the last time. Death ashes obviously dispersed everywhere after recent Fukushima release. Hot particles. Now this stuff doesn't go away. You can be 100 years down the road. This stuff is still there, still clinging to everything, every wall, every fence post, every door handle. And it's impossible not to stir it up. And these particles are so small, you can put 200 million on the head of a needle, but you can't see it. You can't smell it or taste it or feel it or hear it or pick it up or perceive it. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean... And the masks that they were wearing sometimes are 12 to 1,400 times larger than the particles that we're talking about, the holes in them. So they're completely ineffective. They're completely pointless. And even the most expensive ones are pointless. The only ones you would want to wear, if you're foolish enough to go in there, is the containment suits where you have your own air brought with you. So you're getting no air anywhere whatsoever into your suit. And with that head of hair, he should have shaved that off the minute he came out of there. Right? He should have thrown away all of his clothes, not donated, but throw it away because it's incredibly radioactive. And by not throwing away his clothes, which I guarantee you he didn't do, and he must have had a lot of clothes, probably bought clothes there. He brought it back home, put it in these washers, and contaminated all these face cloths, the washers, and everything else. But he should have shaved his eyebrows, shaved his hair right away. Because this absurd amount of radiation will get hung up in that and get transferred. Because you always put your hand up there and touching your mouth, touching your nose, touching your eye. And this stuff is so small, it can go on the frolic. It can go in through your hair, where your hair is connected into your body. We have academic studies showing that too. This is a huge big deal. Really, to go in a nuclear wasteland, why would you ever, just because there's ghost towns, it's a nuclear wasteland. There's nobody on the planet that has an autoimmune trigger to defend against it. What makes you think that you do? And so one side, and like I know these people don't watch this stuff, right? They're too self-centered, they're too egotistic, and they go criticize other people. No one's allowed to criticize them. They don't have the fortitude to sit there and listen to the truth, right? And they never will. They live their whole life in denial as if, because they got a lot of subscribers, therefore they must be right. They're the most dangerous people on the planet with that particular attribute. Tsunami hit Japan, earthquakes, Fukushima power plant is still trying to clean up. Like, you're never going to clean up Fukushima. You're never going to clean up Chernobyl. You're never going to clean up Santa Susana or Hanford or Los Alamos National Laboratories or what you dumped into the oceans in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You can't claw stuff back. You can't put the genies back in the bottles. And we're talking about more atoms released, hot particles. Only one will give you a cancer eventually. It could take 10, 20, 30 years. But it's acting in your body. Your body attacks it every second with white blood cells. That displaces your red blood cells. And the more you get in you, the more that is happening. And to go into a nuclear wasteland and stay there and not shave your eyebrows and your hair, not scrub yourself vigorously, not get rid of all the clothing, that's incredibly contaminated, will contaminate everything else that you wash it. It's absurd. Your bed is completely contaminated because your hair is so radioactive. Because the particles, just because you can't perceive them, that does not mean they're not there. Clean your house perfect. Go clean it perfect on a summer's day. And then in the afternoon when the sun is shining through your house, you're going to see just trillions of particles floating around in your house. You can't, unless you've got an incredibly expensive filtration system, you're not going to move those particles. For one of the worst it's the worst nuke. Fukushima is the worst nuke. Not one of the worst. It's the worst nuclear disaster. To suggest that it's one of the worst means you're one of the worst. Like, Chernobyl was a single reactor, but it was graphite. It was nothing like Fukushima reactor. Fukushima was 4 reactors, reactor cores in each building, and 8 fuel pools with 4 reactor cores, and each of them are gone too. 36 large reactors, massive reactors of pure plutonium, pure uranium. Chernobyl was brutal, don't get me wrong. It was brutal, but it's nothing. It's like a paper towel compared to Fukushima. Just one of the reactors at Fukushima, not the fuel pools that were at the top of the buildings that are also gone with decades of reactor cores, but just the reactor core is worse than all nuclear meltdowns in history combined. You got 4 of these buildings that are gone, for goodness sakes. And at the top of them were decades of reactor cores, they're gone. These were 19-story, 65-meter, 190-foot buildings. Josh, for one of the worst nuclear... That's such a disrespectful thing to say. That he didn't do any research. And that his parents should be arrested for not having an abortion when he was friggin' born, because that guy is going to kill probably 1 million people in his journey, because they're going to take bad advice and act on it, and a decade down the road, that's going to come back and destroy their lives. To go over this, I think radiation is not a joke, by the way. You'll see that if you're smart enough to hang around. To go over this, I think this is something that the whole thing, this is huge. It's huge. You're talking about a plume that covered the entire planet in catastrophic numbers. Like every major institute on the planet has shown plume models of radiation, invisible snowstorm covering the entire planet, and you're going to ground zero and pretend that that's somehow worth your time, that you're invisible, that you're immune, that you're like the Hulk, you're like Spider-Man, right? You're better than everybody, and nothing can happen to you because you got a good head of hair. And a lot of air in that head. Like the airwaves would move the radiation towards here. The airwaves. The air samples in Tokyo, / airwaves, I guess, in Tokyo is 270 times more contaminated with cesium, which pulses energy 600 feet every second for 300 years. It never goes away in your lifetime. Then global weapons follow peak. But you're like, the airwaves are pushing it. The beginning, this almost the whole entire thing. Now, this was auto translations, and I can pick up the slack on this. Beginning, this whole thing, almost the entire thing was... What he's trying to say is that it's only that little area by the nuclear plant itself. Everything, if not everything was affected, something times going even over here. So he's talking about like it wasn't just local, it could go over there a little bit, over here a little bit. And he's pointing towards Minimasoma, which is brutal. This is brutal radiation. Just because it tricked people into moving back there, radiation doesn't go away. It's not everything was affected. No, man. Everything was affected. And it was infected, and it's permanent. It never goes away. It's terrifying that somebody would say stuff he's saying. Like the airwaves would move the radiation towards here. I really wasn't expecting any kind of intelligence out of this person, because we've covered him before. But he reached a whole different level of holy shit. Like, we should sue him for doing what he's doing and saying what he's doing, because that's murder. What he's doing is murder, telling people these incredible lies, these unbelievable, inconceivable, unimaginable, dangerous, lethal lies that he tells people. The Neptunium-239 dispersal, this is just 20 days. This is based, not even based up on a single building, let alone the 4 of them and the 8 fuel pools. But the plumes are covering the entire planet. This decays to plutonium, by the way. This is TEPCO's numbers. Another model of TEPCO's numbers of the actual plutonium-239, which killed all the animals in all the experiments of multiple different tumors. The majority of them died from skeleton tumors, bone tumors. And if they're young, then they were mutating their stem cells. It's a terrible way to die on top of that. And eating food from a nuclear wasteland, which he's not calling it a nuclear wasteland. He's suggesting that Japan is safe and that people in Japan don't know anything. He's the only guy who knows anything. People in Japan don't know nothing because they won't go to the nuclear wasteland. But he went there because he's the only guy that knows anything and it's safe, he says. Like the airwaves, the wind, stupid. Excuse the language. Not airwaves, the wind. Why would you use the word airwaves? Where did you come up with that? That's something you would expect a Japanese public relation firm to say. Because wind is something everybody can relate to. Airwaves is something everybody got to scratch their head over. Airwaves. The airwaves. You know what the airwaves used to be? The television sets was airwaves, right? I've never heard that description before. It's very frustrating that somebody with a big audience is willing to be this sadistic and twisted and demented. Now, they work so hard because of the scientists from Chernobyl, and he studied so much radiation, they knew what to do when Fukushima happens, what he's saying. Like, this is a maniac. Somebody needs to stop this guy and sue this guy. 200 trillion atoms per kilogram. These are physical atoms, not microsieverts, not the stupid millisieverts, the deception. But actual physical atoms you breathe in. It only takes one of these to eventually cause an illness or a disease or autoimmune deficiency, injury, illnesses. Because that's going to happen down the road. It's not like it's going to happen right away. It's going to happen down the road, and it's going to happen in a bad way. And it's going to be genetically passed on to any children that they have after being infected with this plague known as anthropogenic man-made radioactive fallout. Materials spread globally, composed a major volume of the worst Fukushima plume, persist for a long time in living organisms. We must reconsider the disaster health effects. Found near Tokyo, 200 trillion atoms a kilogram. 8 years, almost everything, all the radiation is cleaned up, he says. There was 865,000 extra cancers in the first year. That's just one of the many illnesses, nightmares that showed up after Fukushima. And cancer shouldn't show up that quick, but it did. And what else are you going to contribute to it? Because not everybody got health care. Not everybody was diagnosed. And it's not just cancer. There's heart problems, liver problems, lung problems, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline. Eventually there's Alzheimer's, dementia, autism. There's autism and Down syndrome is the first studies they'll do after a nuclear accident, and then they'll do it forever. Because they know that's going to manifest. Same as diabetics. 6 out of 10 Fukushima children got diabetes, by the way. He should go down and interview them next time. He should go down and interview the cancer victims next time. Except for this little area. Now, it's just that little tiny area he says got radiation. It's absurd. Did TEPCO write the script for him, I wonder? This was another model of the Xenon 133 covering the entire planet in 20 days. March 31st, 2011. That's 20 days. All the models agree, the consensus is it covers the whole planet in 30 to 40 days. But you want people to think that there's only that little tiny spot there. That is some sick shit, man. Why you got to do stuff like that? You got all these subscribers, like almost 5 million subscribers. You don't need to go out and destroy everybody and disrespect Japan that way. Your parents, we should be suing you and your parents for what you're doing. It's outrageous that you're saying those things. Radioactive dust in Tokyo at 4,000 atoms a kilogram. It never disappears. Wherever you find cesium, you're going to find uranium, plutonium, americium, actinium, strontium, and all their daughters and 1,000 other fission products. But no. Let's listen. Josh got 5 million subscribers. Only Josh knows, because Josh is immune, and Cody are immune to radiation. They should be there cleaning up the nuclear meltdowns themselves. The pollen will destroy your health and your autoimmune and leave you more susceptible to pathogens and viruses that were normally harmless and innocuous and benign. Up to 2,000 grains inhaled in 1 cubic meter of air can easily fly from Fukushima. No, it's just, they're tidying it up, Dana. They're tidying it. Like, this guy never come up with this on his own, okay? Like, what he's doing, as far as I can tell, is on purpose. But look, we haven't even scratched the surface of such sadistic and twisted this person actually is. Josh will do anything to make a buck, as far as I can tell, including murder just endless people, so he can look good, including his family and loved ones, I'm sure, because I'm sure he's stupid enough to bring the radiation back to them. 10 million atoms a kilogram of cesium detected in Minnesota soil samples to local officials, which is right up there where he's pointing, above where he's pointing, where his finger is pointing, is 10 million atoms per kilogram. It'll multiply by 66.6 to get a square meter where you stood up. But no, he's immune to it, right? He's the best person on the planet, apparently. Only he knows. Portion where my finger is tidying it. That's the only spot there where there's radiation, you see? Fukushima is safe. Really. The whole planet is impossible right now because Fukushima will never be safe. And the releases from Fukushima is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it in our lives. Don't worry, Dana. Fukushima is safe, says the monster. Even a low dose will cause damage. I can guarantee you that that's not a low dose anywhere on the planet. 10 million atoms per kilogram is not a low dose in anybody's textbook anywhere on this planet, ever. It will never be considered a low dose. It's a massive dose. All here is safe, but the world is scared. The world is scared by Fukushima. But he's not. All of Japan is scared. Japan won't go there, but he's smarter than everybody else. Only Josh is smart enough to understand that it's safe, right, Josh? The world is scared. I think the world should be scared of you, man. What you're doing is completely uncalled for. You're the most dishonest, despicable human conceivable. It's revolting what you're doing. It's murder, and it's genocide in many ways. Hidden NOAA animation shows the oceans all along the U.S. West Coast are contaminated. But Josh didn't say that, so it can't be true. Because if Josh doesn't say it, it's not true. By the end of March 2011, the entire ocean, and there was a study came out of Germany. All here is safe, but the world is scared. Not Josh, though. Josh is better than everybody. Josh doesn't get scared. Josh is special. TEPCO took good care of Josh. Josh the monster. Radiation levels on the U.S. West Coast. This is a French government study. French government. Of 1 million to 10 million atoms of cesium-137. You got that. You got the same thing in uranium, plutonium, americium. This is their model based on 31 days of radioactive fault. It's the French government. I think I'll trust him before I trust Josh. This is 20 days right there. That's 20 days. The whole planet is covered in 1 million to 10 million atoms, just cesium-137 that we're acknowledging. That model is only based on 7 days. This is right here, 20 days. 21 days right there. It never goes away. It doesn't turn to fairy dust, but you can't even find it on your Geiger counter. You despicable worm, man. You revolting parasite. All's here is safe, but the world is scared. U.S. was hit with the worst fallout the year after Fukushima began. A year later was the worst fallout. Highest levels ever recorded in the history. But Josh didn't say that, so it can't be true. Not true unless Josh tells us, right? All here is safe. The West Coast was hit. This is 220 million atoms per liter of rainfall. This is never going to go away. It's got a 15 million year half-life. There's actually 10 half-lives. Not that Josh would know that. This saturated the thyroid glands of every one of his nephews and nieces and friends and families. Everybody in his community, everybody on the planet was saturated with this. And we're all producing radioactive hormones forever because of that. But the insects, the birds, the mammals, and the animals, they were decimated in the first couple of years. And Dummy's turn is coming down the road. No one in Japan wants to go to Fukushima because none of them are as smart as Josh is, right? And Cody. Astounding levels of radiation measured in the United States from Fukushima. 5,500 miles away. Astounding levels. I wouldn't even want to go to Canada, the United States, but I'm stuck here. Around 500,000 times our normal level. Not that there's such thing as a normal level of anthropogenic man-made radiation. We've never have ever seen anything ever close to that. The concentration went up and up every day. It's amazing to see it 7,000 kilometers away. It's a matter of life and death. Josh's like, no, everything's okay. No one wants to go to Fukushima. I've never come across anything so stupid in my life. Josh gets lots of views on his videos. I get none of mine. Apparently. I get 12 on mine, 13 thumbs up, 15 votes. Josh is laughing his arse off. I got 5 million subscribers, he says. You don't mean nothing. Neither does anybody else, as long as Josh gets what he wants. He should take that video down. If he's a man, if he thinks he's a man, if he wants to be a real man, he should take that fucking video down. It's outrageous to leave it up another second. Every second he leaves it up there is outrageous. Like Machiavellian is about the only words that you can really apply to this. Even if he's stupid, that's the only words you can really apply to what he's doing. His parents couldn't talk him out of it the second time. Couldn't talk him out of going to a nuclear wasteland. Did he even try, I wonder? He thinks because it doesn't affect him immediately, therefore there's no effect. It's hard to comprehend, right, that somebody can be that complacent. I think he's being paid, and I don't think he's smart enough to dream up the stuff he's saying on his own to cover a story that good. We cover this all the time for many, many years. In order to tell a story as diluted as he's telling it, you really got to be deeply involved in the industry for a very long time to not make any mistakes. They think it's all contaminated. To get there, he had to drive past 30 million one-ton bags of radiation from 3% of the land. 30 million one-ton bags. 30 million one-ton bags he had to drive past. 30 million. Imagine you got 30 million one-ton pickup trucks and you got to deal with the keys to every one. Then you can kind of appreciate how many bags we're actually talking about. They think. The West Coast, they should have picked up a couple of trillion one-ton bags too. 1 million atoms over the West Coast per kilogram or per square meter. This is an invisible blanket. That's a full body X-rays for every species and every human out there forever. Radioactive xenon-133 in Washington was 450,000 times above detection levels, which could be 3-4 million per cubic meter of air or square feet. Persisted for weeks. The plume, it's a continuous plume. Like when you hear this persisted for weeks, it's because it's a let me bring up one of these. It's a plume that covers the entire planet. Right? That's the 36 days. They think it's all contaminated. Like it's hard to comprehend that somebody can be that evil, because like you can't come up with this on your own. No one wants to even vacation here. Of course they don't. You're in a nuclear wasteland. Do you think the people who've been there for hundreds of years, their families, really wanted to run away? You think it's really radiophobia? You really think everybody's stupid, but not you? You really think you're the only smart person? Really? Because that can't be true. He's clearly got a script from TEPCO. He's getting a big bag of money out of it. Again, thousands of miles away, enormous amounts, but nothing where Josh, Tony. There's nothing there. Everything's fine. Everything's tidied up. Tidied up! Tends to concentrate in the testicles in California. 360 atoms. You only need one of these, by the way, to invoke a cancer eventually. 360 day of the radioactive sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyballs per day may have been inhaled by the Californians after Fukushima. There's multiple independent studies about that, by the way, that quantifies it. It was actually much worse than that. Which means you're sterilizing the population. So imagine if that's what's happened to the humans, what's happening to the insects, the birds, the mammals, and the animals. No one wants to even vacation there because it's a nuclear wasteland, Josh, with 30 million one-ton beds. You really think everybody has radiophobia? You got to be a pretty worthless human to do what he's doing right there. There's no way he could have came up with this on his own. There's just no way. Now, his first video, we covered that, and it just looks like he was stupid. But this one looks like he's very refined in all of his language. Not a wasted sentence. 1,500 atoms of sulfur per cubic meter of air detected in California. That's the sulfur prox. Every one of these are hot particles. And I think that's a big thing to bring up, that nobody wants to go to a nuclear wasteland, only you. Radioactive sulfur in California spiked to the highest levels ever detected, the university researchers. That's forever, man. That never goes away, Josh. It never goes away. To you guys, that Fukushima is okay to go to. Do you know, 2019, the same year that stupid was at Fukushima, nuclear meltdown area, there was a study coming out from doctors, that said there was a 14.2% increase in the number of congenital malformation correction surgeries, which is open heart surgeries for neonates and infants, per 100,000, which meant it was 14,200 children needed open heart surgery out of every 100,000 live births across the country. 865,000 extra cancers. 6 in 10 children with diabetes. These are numbers there's no comparison anywhere on the planet now. In history, in medical textbooks or anywhere else. Fukushima is okay to go back to. Like people like that, you would hope TEPCO whacks them over the head and puts them in a paper suit and sends them into Reactor 3 so they don't poison the planet with this experimental zellulite rice paddy project in Dade City. The zellulite, they're going to put it like, this is how crazy the industry actually is, and this is why people like Josh actually exist. is because right after the meltdowns, the first year, December the first year, the same year, they were still growing food there. They were telling the farmers that if you put the zeolite in the fields, it'll soak up the cesium. And this is their narrative still today, right? That there's only cesium, like Josh, everything is safe. Like the government in Japan, the only time was cesium. It's absurd to suggest there's only gamma. And that the potassium provides the plants with a safe source of mineral uptake. So they never stopped growing food in nuclear wasteland, which is the most insane statement imaginable. And we've been warning humanity about this for over 13 years. And so I'm censored because the truth matters. And just because I'm censored like I've never seen in history, because that's their little asset right there. They don't want his viewers finding these videos and realizing that that's a freaking monster right there. Just not the red zone areas. This person is actually insane and around it. He's actually insane, eh? The issue has been shown to be a larger problem as radioactive soil and debris bags dot the landscapes, and many are failing. Fukushima car washes struggle with radioactive sludge. So the car washes in the populated areas is the sludge at the car wash is so radioactive it needs to go to a nuclear waste site. But Josh can't find any in the nuclear wasteland, abandoned communities. So the green zone, it was so radioactive that you can't get rid of the sludge at the car wash and the grates on the floor, right? We went there 3 years ago and we covered that one. And that was just despicable. This is 100 times worse than what they done the last time. It's getting better and better every day, really, in a nuclear wasteland. Tens of millions of atoms per liter of cesium. If it's getting better and better every day. Just believe Josh. Don't believe anybody else. Only believe the moron with a lot of subscribers. 350,000 atoms a kilogram rice straws and more over limits. It never goes away. These numbers will never change. He can go there in 30 years. Those numbers will still be true. And I just want you guys, you victims, you stupid people that watch his videos, to know, one thing is for sure, is that it is still radiation going and leaking. Look, using the word leaking. You can't contain it. Does he realize the reactors actually melt down? I know he does. He knows the buildings are completely gone. These are not. Does that look like it's leaking? Just because Josh says the word leaking, does that look like it's leaking? Let's think about reality. Does the fish having the numbers? Look at the numbers of these rockfish, the greenlings. These are absurd numbers. These are catastrophic to your health. There's one thing I'm upset about. The one thing. You're not upset about tricking and deceiving, manipulating, telling everybody that there's no radiation only in that tiny little area. Fukushima rice to be bought by the government and mixed in Japan's rice reserves. Nobody wants the rice because it's grown in a nuclear wasteland. When it's in your body attacks white blood cells for the rest of your life. Every second for the rest of your life. Which means you has less red blood cells, less oxygen, less nutrition. It's horrific, eh? Authorities in Japan are set to release the water from the water still highly radioactive. You can't contain it. The tanks are empty. If you fill up these tanks with the water, you're pouring over a melted reactor core. Per liter, 2.2 sieverts of beta, not counting gammas, alphas, neutrons, and everything else. Just counting the beta, which is 1.4 million sieverts. 3 sieverts is a lethal dose to walk past. These tanks, even if they were 6 foot thick lead, 1.4 million is like a rifle round, like a sniper round from 1,000 feet away. Widespread cesium contamination of freshwater fish in eastern Japan. But Josh didn't say that, so it can't be true, right? Like 100% that the world should know is that where it's going on, 100%, they're working really, really hard to clean it up for the Olympics in 2020, which was the following year. And they want all of this to be gone and forgotten. He's doing this video. Notice they got the key fob in his hand for the car, his rental car. He's trying to make it seem as if this is just a random thing that he's saying. There's not. TEPCO choose not to stop the water leaks, and calling it a leak is insane. Over fears their stock prices. Like the buildings are not leaking. They're just open sewage pits for emissions. And those particular emissions are different than any other emission on the planet where they traverse the entire planet in a short period of time, and where they're extremely harmful to everything with replicating cells. Like, it's hard to comprehend that there's people out there who will do what he's doing for a very small amount of money. If you want to learn more about radiation, this rocket scientist says, go check out his video he did on cancer. Did I get cancer from Chernobyl? He done a video, did I get cancer from Chernobyl? Well, you won't know for 10 or 15 or 20 years now, will you? But there was not 865,000 extra cancers in the first year. Not everybody got health care. Not everybody was diagnosed. 865, and it's not just cancer. There's heart problems, liver problems, lung problems, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline. There's Alzheimer's, dementia. Turbo cancers for all. That's right. Thanks, Dana. They can learn and read up about radiation from his video he did on Chernobyl. Did he get cancer? He should go to the cancer center and ask him how everything is going. Is Japan super evil for tricking YouTubers exploring with Josh into exploring a nuclear wasteland? So let's pretend he was just tricked and he's naive and gullible. It's still inexcusable that he didn't do any research. The only research he done was that everything is safe. That's his conclusion, apparently. Everything is safe. I mean, man, that's what he's doing. He hasn't even left the hotel yet. We're not even into the video yet. It's so egregious that I might have to make a punching bag that looks like him. Not that I'm a violent person. I can make exceptions. She can learn and read up about radiation from Josh the Monster. Hey Josh, how about this stuff? The influence of the post-Chernobyl fallout on birth defects, abortion rates. Have you had children yet? Any abortions yet? Any birth defects yet? Prenatal losses of 400 male fetuses, not in Chernobyl, but in the Czech Republic. Congenital abnormality registry in Belarus. You should go down and visit the orphanages down there, and then you can think about how lucky you really are. Full of disfigured children. Fallout from Chernobyl and the overall cancer incidences in Finland, which is very far away. So do you really think being at Fukushima, because you think you're invisible? Now almost 100,000 Fukushima children with thyroid tumors. And then, of course, the idiots who don't know any better, upcoming video right now. Hey, Josh, what about Down syndrome time clustering in United Kingdom and Scotland, or Belarus and Scotland, 3,000 kilometers away? Down syndrome clusters 3,000 kilometers away, blamed on Chernobyl. But Fukushima can't have any effect only in that little spot. Really? So our first stop is Tomioka. This is reading the radiation meters. There's one town with 3,000 Geiger counters in millisieverts, or microsieverts rather, which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do it in counts per minute. Microsieverts is for ground zero. Millisieverts is for ground zero. When you're looking for radioactive fallout, you don't look at microsieverts or millisieverts. You only look at counts per minute. You don't look at anything but counts per minute. My apologies. But like they have these signs that show, there's one town with 3,000. I'll put a sign there for him. There's 3,000 because he's too lazy to take a picture. There's 3,000 of these in one community alone to trick people into going back to the nuclear wasteland. And this is in microsieverts. These are never going to tell you the numbers. The idea is to trick you, not scare you. They're not meant to work. They're just meant to give you a very low number at best. He covered all the bases. The radiation levels right now is going out. It's going to go into the air. Also not horrible at all, he said. Really? What about the actual stories from back when this happened? Radioactive plume of Krypton 85 over Tokyo. 300,000 atoms per square meter of radioactive iodine, which means it's going to be saturated with strontium, uranium, plutonium, americium, in areas near Tokyo before the end of March, 240 kilometers away. Only included the iodine 131. So once you have one number, you multiply it with the other isotopes. You can do a mathematical extrapolation. Really, really low readings, almost if not lower than some. Man, he said everything you would expect him to say if he was a well-trained public relations scumbag. Rain caused 29 million atoms per square meter in the soil, says the government. Like 185 is considered an evacuation zone. 29 million is considered run. Just drop your Geiger counter and run. And never look back. Get as far away from there as you can. And they're talking about Tokyo, and they're at Fukushima nuclear wastelands itself. It's true, but 70% of Japan's territory is polluted. It's polluted. With a catastrophic impact on the health. He's at ground zero. He's telling everybody, no, everything's fine. I'm Josh, the explorer, so therefore everything is fine. Or he's a really good, useful idiot for the public relation firms. Or he's a player. He's telling these lies on purpose because that script was given to him. 276,000 atoms of kilogram radioactive cesium from the soil samples near Tokyo per kilogram. So a square meter is 18 million. And they're only acknowledging cesium. For every cesium-137 we're talking about, there's 100 strontium-90s produced. It's going to be in the same plume. The biggest byproduct of radiated fuel rod is the curium isotopes. Hence the word curium for a nuclear meltdown. And curium isotopes, you need lead shielding 20 times thicker than you do for plutonium. Remember, the reactors run on plutonium and uranium. The biggest byproduct is the curium. And your plutonium killed every animal in every study with multiple tumors, fatal tumors. And Cody and Dutz's turn are coming. Government said not interfere in Tokyo. Then came the results: 1.5 million atoms. But Josh can't find anything on his Geiger counter. Uranium-235 in Chiba, which is 20 kilometers from Tokyo. Josh can't find anything on his Geiger counters. And by the way, the Geiger counter you'll see coming up only looks for gamma. Doesn't look for uranium or plutonium or americium or neptunium or strontium. It only looks for gamma, like iodines and cesiums. But it's very ineffective at it. And he bought a cheap one on top of that, if he did buy it. Government sessions reveal 400,000 times. If your Geiger counter picks that up, it's going to be a big red screen going, run. Don't look back. Leave your luggage. Shave your head when you get to safety. 400,000 times normal radioactive xenon. Burns a hole through your lung, ends up in your bones and mutates your stem cells in your children. I really disrespect this person. Some area, and I disrespect people every day that are apologists for nuclear industry. But he took it to a different level. He took it to piece of shit level. In some areas, they've already done a lot. 600 kilometers from Fukushima, high levels of cesium in the Osaka-based soil. But he's trying to convince you that it's okay there. And this is why this place cleaned up way faster. It didn't clean up. You can't clean up a nuclear wasteland. Because they took all the scientists and all the studies from the last time to now, one disaster they learned. Like his logic is the scariest logic I've ever heard. Science doesn't matter. Let's throw science out the window because Josh, the God, has spoken. Local officials, they can't take it anymore. 5.5 million atoms a kilogram. And they're going to have spring athlete meets, swimming pool openings. They're going to have Josh the idiot coming through. Real mysterious black substance not yet measured, possibly 20 million atoms of cesium. It is too dangerous and must be analyzed by public institutes. Or Josh. Josh will analyze it. Right, Josh? We're going into the first red zone ever, he says. With permission, of course. Look at him smiling. No paper suits. Not that that's going to help you, but at least you don't contaminate all your clothing. You still got to throw your clothing away after, but at least you're not getting irradiated with the actual fall particles in your skin. Like, that's one of the scariest pictures I've ever seen right there. 500,000 atoms per kilogram, no decontamination. Multiply by 66.6 to get a square meter. There's guys in hazmat suits everywhere. I'm not joshing them. They're better than everybody, right? Dude, this was the hospital. They done that hospital 3 years before that. So weird. Dude, listen. I mean, these are maniacs. You have all the registration to get through the checkpoints. Oh, yeah, I got everything is in order. A little paperwork. Like, I got a passport, which you might need. Abandoned places that are untouched because it's a nuclear wasteland, my goodness. And in the video, he does it a lot of times. We're probably the first people ever to come here. Yeah, because it's a nuclear wasteland. Nobody else is stupid enough. Like the level of stupid there. I would love to talk to their teachers that they had in school. Like imagine they would have said, these are literally morons. And so, God, I feel like there's so much paperwork. But they just waves them right on through. Oh, you got a couple of stupid Americans. Don't scare them. Just wave them on through. Radiation forecast in Japan kept secret to avoid panic in the whole society. If they understood for 1 second, I would imagine they would panic of what they're doing, of how much they're breathing in, how much they're getting on their clothing and their hairs and their mouth. You can't avoid it in the nuclear wasteland. But they take stupid to a level I've never seen before. Look at all the cranes. So they're within sight of the ongoing nuclear meltdowns that blew up. That area is absurdly radioactive. I guess dead man tells no tale down the road. That's why Japan let them go into the nuclear wasteland itself. It's hard to imagine they've done that. Children with over 11 atoms a kilogram start to see heart problems. With 50 in an adult, you'll get permanent lesions to your organs. And that'll manifest in all kinds of health issues as you get older. For children, you get irreversible heart damage of 50 atoms a kilogram. They're in places with 10 million atoms a kilogram. These people are literally the definition of stupid. They're actually stupid. They're probably getting a good paycheck for doing what they're doing, but it's stupid to destroy your future and your health that way. Because, oh yeah, you get away with it now for a few years, but that's going to come back, man. Over and over and over. They're going to end up selling all their assets down the road to pay for their medical, and then they'll radiate the shit out of them in the hospital till their organs fail. That is the nuclear power plant that blew up. They're so bitter than everybody, eh? Got a bit of a raw throat. Now 35.8% of Fukushima children have thyroid tumors. 13,646 out of 38,000. It used to be 1 in a million. So when you scale it up to 358,000 out of a million, and another issue with that is, you're talking about, in order to have the kid's thyroid is about 2 by 2 centimeters. The tumors are around 2 centimeters. So they're producing radioactive hormones on top of having tumors, and they're developing. And now if you're doing that, that means you're so saturated with radiation that your skeleton is full of radiation. That's energetic man-made isotopes. And what that means is you're producing radioactive stem cells. You're producing radioactive stem cells and radioactive hormones for the rest of their miserable lives. They'll be back and forth to the hospital constantly. They're not going to go visit the kids, tell them how great they are they? Or are they stupid enough to do that, I wonder? Look how close we are to the nuclear meltdowns, they said. We're right next to where the power plant went boom. Massive radioactivity releases at Fukushima going on for almost 3 years. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So just because you can't perceive it or smell it or hear it or feel it or taste it or touch it. So you see the trash bags, the 1-ton bags, trash bags. Do you see all the right words, don't they? They downplay everything. No prominence for anything. They disregard everything as if it's irrelevant. Those trash bags, those 1-ton bags, 6 feet by 6 feet is not a trash bag. You're trash, but they're not trash bags. They're harvesting food right alongside of it, probably right where you're too, close to where they're in the Fukushima. Fukushima, this is 2019. There was 105,000 storage sites for 1-ton bags. 105,000 where they picked up 1-ton bags. 105,000. 105,000 sites where they're storing 1-ton bags, or as the disaster says, trash bags. 105,000 sites like that, which is only 3% of the land, which is not enough to mitigate it. Everything's immediately recontaminated. These huge man-made holes. So they're in Fukushima, and this is where they're dumping the bags because no one's paying attention anymore. There's lots of places where they're dumping the bag in farmers' fields and growing foods in it. We cover those headlines all the time. Man-made holes that took 3 years to build. You just want to just cement it and bury it down. But that's not how you deal with radiation. If you cement it, then everything is going to flood back out of it through liquefaction, right? But I mean, like when you look at these communities to your left, and the middle row here is just cesium. The count physical atoms per square meter of cesium. These are all nuclear wastelands. And the next row, the second row is population. The first row is the community. They're surrounded. That's the people where you can live. They're in a place where you can't live. They're in Fukushima, and the nuclear wasteland has been abandoned, still abandoned today. And radiation on the West Coast, 5,500 miles away, at 1 million to 10 million atoms per square meter, but they can't find anything in a nuclear wasteland. And they're so brazen, they're so complacent, or they're just stupid. They're willing to put themselves into that place right there, right within distance sight of ongoing nuclear meltdowns. The level of stupidity is astounding. I got no idea how they made it this far in life without screwing up and getting killed. I got no concept of how that's even possible. See, all these communities, so they're better than all these communities, Jake, Josh, and Cody. They're better than everybody. Nobody matters, only Josh and Cody. This is big Cody. We were on the coastline of Fukushima. Urban explorers. Like, the communities far away from you are nuclear wastelands. You're convinced in your delusional little world, foot of our coastline, which is just a couple of miles away from these creatures, ongoing perpetual nuclear meltdowns and China syndromes that are hemorrhaging radiation into the environment. And just because there's other people stupid enough to join you, that doesn't make it right. And to come out and suggest that is even remotely safe. These people should be sued for genocide that they're going to do to the people that believe the stuff they're saying. I can't comprehend that they were able to dream up this cover story on their own. I just can't comprehend that. It's such a difficult story to lie about. And they said all the right lies, didn't they? This is legit. Really, being by ongoing nuclear meltdowns that detonated, ejected reactor cores and the fuel pools out of the buildings is lethal for millions of years, the emissions. And nobody is immune to this stuff. There's nothing on the planet that has an autoimmune trigger to defend against it. Certainly not Josh or Cody, I can guarantee you. And we're here. Like, I can't understand this. I can't understand anybody being that complacent, not doing any research whatsoever, not able to have any other narrative, because the only way they can do what they're doing is if they've never had another narrative. And I came out and blasted them 3 years before this with perpetual documentation. There's a brutal amount of documentation. And yet now they're there with every cover story I've ever heard a public relation firm say. They're doing it perfect. By the way, Chernobyl is 985,000 people died. Fukushima is infinitely worse than Chernobyl could be, because Chernobyl is really just a paper towel compared to what Fukushima's got done. It's interesting because there's a coastline. Of course there's a coastline. The whole friggin' Japan is an island. It's one great big coastline. We're at an abandoned nuclear wasteland with not even bothering to wear like a jumper suit or something they can throw away. Nothing. No hats, no nothing. If you wear a hat there and throw it away, at least you had some common sense. You wear a jumpsuit and then throw it away every day, at least you got some common sense. But like going there is just literally the worst, stupidest thing you could possibly conceive. It's literally stupid, because eventually this comes back. It's in your body. It's sequestered in your muscles, your organs, and your bones, pulsing energy almost at the speed of light every second. Your body's attacking the source and the damage that it does every second for the rest of your life. And that there's no way that doesn't come back and get you. For you guys, as much as they can over there. There you can see all the cranes and the stuff. Like, it's hard to comprehend. But there's so many evil people out there. I'm going to assume Cody and Josh are evil, like these people, pretending they're on top of a building that don't exist. Because I can't really perceive that they're anything but. It's 105,000 sites, not bags, arsehole. Man. On-site storage locations. Here, let me read it yourself. There's actually 150,000 sites. Let me show you the 30 million one-ton bags. And you read it, so why did you show up here and say what you just said? Tasca? Go read the story. 30 million tons of radioactive waste. So these bags will deteriorate after 3 years. There's 30 million of these one-ton bags, and there's 105,000 on-site storage locations. Locations. So why would you say it's 105 bags, not sites, according to the article? The article didn't say that. The article says storage locations. And then the other story shows, you can read it yourself, it's 30 million one-ton bags is what they're talking about. Not sure if we're going to get a show in tomorrow night. It's pretty hard on my back doing what I'm doing, because I fell down and hurt myself a few weeks ago. And it's difficult to do the things I'm doing. I don't have the ability, like Josh and them, to take care of myself, and they refuse to. They're working really hard, these guys. Another thing to talk about, every force here, this drives me nuts. This is the strangest person imaginable. It's not touched, not cut, nothing's ever been touched or decontaminated. These are the original force, and everything you see here, and that's because the Japanese believe in something. I forgot. They just want to keep everything the way it was. Really? Well, if that's the case, then they would clean it up, because now every organism in the Fukushima prefecture is 1.4 million atoms per kilogram. Because of their culture. You really think their culture says, well, let's turn it into a nuclear wasteland? Radioactive force is a permanent risk, because everything must be cut down. Every gust of wind showers the radioactive particles. It's not just cesium, the radioactive particles all over the village. Do you really think 4 million atoms in the soil samples from a school 20 kilometers from Tokyo? And when you see the microsieverts, 10.1 microsieverts an hour at another elementary school, they use that in order to downplay it. You don't measure this stuff in microsieverts 240 miles away. You measure it at becquerels, which is each one is a physical atom that pulsing that energy, right? Yeah, you're welcome. You got to be careful about what you're saying. You can stop the video and go back and read it. And have you caught me wrong? I cover that story all the time. I don't believe you, to tell you the truth. And I've seen so many apologists from the industry show up and do that to me over the years. I'm not taking no chances. So this can be really contaminated, and they got saved. They got saved. You're in a nuclear wasteland, surrounded by nuclear wastelands. The Marine House, Footabar. You're talking about Footabar where nothing got saved. Everything is a nuclear wasteland. Walking around in these communities, in these houses, is insane. The definition of stupid. You have to be insane. And this was the interpreter, and so they go safe. That was a cement structure where a lot of people climbed it during the tsunami. She said those trees were broken by the tsunami. Look at these trees up there. They were broken by the tsunami. Man, that tsunami must have been high along that coastline. I know the tsunami was 6 to 1,200 miles of the coastline was like that. And some places up to 10 kilometers inland. Too bad Josh and Cody weren't there when that was going down. Could have saved the world, 1 million people. All broken by the tsunami. I'll put that picture there for you. That's the nuclear site itself, by the way. Once that happens, you can't go and fix anything. Ever. Once that happens, you can't fix anything. So here, they did not wear nothing. No hats, no jumper suits, no coveralls, not even a paper suit, not even a hat. And they got lots of money. They can afford a full face mask. Why would you leave your? Because they want the women to see them. They're like, hey, look at us. We're cool. California, 40 million atoms of iodine-131 in a single bed of kelp. Very high concentrations of hot particles in the United States and Canada, including plutonium and americium. We showed you the studies of them, actually, that quantifies it. Radioactive xenon-133 in Washington was 450,000 times above detection levels after Fukushima and persisted for weeks. Persisted for weeks. Persisted for weeks. You had an invisible plume covering the entire planet. And the plume covered the entire planet. It doesn't just persist for weeks, it persists forever. Like 240,000 years for Neptunium. 10 half-lives, the same as the plutonium, basically. Which is 24,000 year and 10 half-lives. So 240,000 years, 250,000 years. But that plume is only based upon a fraction of the actual emissions. I just don't want to leave this unchallenged. Knowing everything about this place, they clearly know nothing, they wouldn't be there. That's why nobody else is there. Because they're not fucking stupid like Josh and Cody. They're not shit for brains like Josh and Cody. A bike is left there. Yeah, and billions of pieces of the fuel all over the place is left there too. Of course it's left there. A bike is left there. You know, out of all the abandoned places I've been to in his entire life in 8 years, this is his favorite, I guess, is it? Will all be the most scariest place. Like, you have no concept that stupid diaper you got on your face there is not going to stop the uranium peroxide hydrogen buckyballs. It's from the sulfur being liberated from the 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures of the melted reactor cores from spraying salt water on, and that sucks up uranium, plutonium, and americium into these spherical balls. And now you got super hot particles. And when they go through that mass and get in your lungs, And then 10 years down the road, you're wondering why you're lying on a hospital bed, emaciated. This is an 8-year-old vending machine. Japan is the king of vending machines. There's nowhere in Japan you go there's not a vending machine on the corner. There really isn't. They were fascinated. I would never drink that. Wink, wink. Look how the Sprite looked 8 years ago. Why are you showing us this? Because they got the mentality of a fruit fly and the backbone of a moron like their parents that would allow them to go there. Hundreds? Think about this a couple of years ago, 4 years ago. It was millions of, it was 192 species of insect-eating birds showed up. They were extremely emaciated because we killed the food chain in North America from something that happened in Asia because of the Trans-Pacific, the way the pollution cuts across in just a few days. They have no fat reserves, no mass muscles. When you see 192 species of migratory insect-eating birds showing up emaciated, it's because you got a broken food chain. We're at the top of the food chain, so we'll still get sick eventually. It'll catch up to us at some point, depending how stupid we are. But this is the ultimate stupid to go into Fukushima. They went to Fukushima 3 years before that. I never ever dreamt that I would see people this stupid from North America. Look at our film crew set up for this. Our film crew. Some proud of themselves, eh? They barely pinched themselves when they woke up in the morning, I bet. Why would you go anywhere that caused the entire planet to be buried in radioactive fallout? Why would you go to ground zero unless you're stupid? Unless you're actually stupid. But Dana, they got almost 5 million subscribers. That doesn't make them smart. With their diapers on their face. It's not going to pretend. Can you imagine back in the day when the incident! Imagine back in the day when the incident. This is an event. You've broken the food chain in the oceans and worldwide on this planet. You've broken the food chain. I spent 6 years doing research expeditions. I spent 6 years, 4 to 5 months a year on the ocean, from Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska. Because, this really happened. The radioactive fallout is documented. And the species you're looking at are no more, because we went out year after year after year for 6 years, and the species are gone, and they didn't come back. We went for 5 extra years after the first year to see if the species to your left would recover, and they didn't. And I find it offensive that somebody would go with no common sense at all, would go there twice. How can you go to a nuclear wasteland twice and then tell all the perfect lies that he told? When the documentation is everywhere, it's easy to find. These species are gone. There are 14 prefectures. Almost half the country, the food was banned for a decade by 55 countries. The food was still banned by 55 countries when they were there at that time. Everybody's wrong. Only shit for brains, Josh and Cody, the incompetent, are right. Nobody else could be right. And then he's talking about, imagine being there originally and you had to get shipped out by a bus from the hospital or the old folks' homes. It's so offensive, eh? to evacuate and be safe. You can't be safe anywhere on the planet or the ocean. I guarantee you, we're probably the first guy. I guarantee you guys, we're probably the first ones to be here in 8 years. You're the first ones. You're the stupidest ones. So they think everybody's stupid except for them. Everybody stayed away. All the looters stayed away. All the government agencies, all the academic. Everybody stayed away because only Josh and Cody are smart enough. Our sound guy looks like Boss. Looks like Boss. Look at him. He looks like Boss in a nuclear wasteland. Good for you, man. You're the most dangerous people I've ever seen, actually. All right, Explorer. So we're starting off here in front in a nuclear wasteland. Japan says the area 150 kilometers from the Fukushima plant is as radioactive as the area is close to it. But that doesn't matter because Josh is better than everybody. He's like Superman and Spider-Man all wrapped up into one, right? Everything is frozen in time. It's a nuclear wasteland, moron. More vending machines, not just one, but 3. If he was a girl, this is what he would be doing right then. Not just 1, but 3. I think we also have to take in and remember that you're an idiot or a murderer. It's hard to tell. It's hard to imagine you came up with all these cover lines on your own. You downplayed everything on your own. I can't comprehend how somebody like you, a low caliber, uneducated nothing like you, could do that. Some cool drinks or flavors that we just made. Like so detached from any facet of reality, I can't wrap my mind around it. 2016, TEPCO begins installing Unit 3. Unit 3, by the way, was right there. You can't take the fuel out of the pool that was 150 feet above the stump because it was 150 feet above the stump. Just because the media come out and said it, or that Josh says it, doesn't mean it's true. Nuclear power plant exploded the next day. Not even the old people, some of the old people. I can imagine how much respect they got for seniors. And I'm going to show you something that's somewhat graphic. There was blood on the floor. This was a traditional Japanese place where you slept and rest. Again, this is the same kind of accident from Chernobyl. No, it's not. Chernobyl was a paper towel compared to Fukushima. Chernobyl was brutal, but it ain't no Fukushima. With 4 reactors and 8 fuel pools melting down. It's not the same kind as Chernobyl, arsehole. You gotta pull out his Geiger counter. His Geiger counter doesn't pick up plutonium, or uranium, or americium, or neptunium, or apparently anything else. Plutonium-241 from Fukushima nearly 70,000 times more than the atomic bomb falls out. It was infinitely more than that. It was around 240,000 pounds of plutonium went up in fine particulates, contaminated everything, destroyed everything. Large areas of the ocean contaminated by the plutonium. And build up in the biosphere is expected to. Don't worry now, Josh is the only guy that matters. We have a reading of 0.28 microsieverts. What are you reading microsieverts for? Is that what TEPCO told you to read? A supermarket in Tokyo was 40,000 microsieverts. But you're at ground zero. You're only getting 0.28. But your supermarkets in Tokyo at 40,000 microsieverts. These are catastrophic numbers. It's a safe reason why I have a mask on. He's safe, but the reason he has a mask on is different. He said, so it's safe. Tokyo soil was so hot it should be sent to a nuclear waste dump. But where he's to, in a nuclear meltdown zone, the no-go zone, is safe. He's at Fukushima, a couple of kilometers away from ongoing nuclear meltdown where it's safe. Not safe in California or anywhere else on the planet. But he's safe. It's a dust mask just in case any sort of dust. Like the dust mask can't possibly work anyway. You're talking about something you put 2 million atoms on the head of a needle, but you can't see it. These masks are 12 to 15 to 2,000 times. The holes are bigger than the material you're trying to stop. Old radiation dust particles are in here. Old radiation. So that's an interesting statement too. Why would you use those particular words when it's still melting down? Old radiation dust particles. Old radiation. It doesn't, like in a million years you breathe it in, it's still going to make you just as sick as it would tomorrow morning breathing it in. There's a million atoms of cesium dust, million atoms of dust at the school after being decontaminated, and they'll just leave it there. This is a nuclear wasteland. He's right in Fukushima of all places. It's just to be somewhere out safe. What? Really? You really think a mass like that is somehow going to mitigate anthropogenic man-made radiation? And here we go, 0.131 microsieverts again, nothing. He's calling it nothing. He's in a nuclear wasteland, and he's got the world's worst Geiger counter. He's got in the wrong settings in microsieverts on top of that. And he's suggesting, I really don't know how I ended up doing all. It's probably going to take 4 or 5 years. This person's actually insane. We have Fukushima polluting the entire Pacific Ocean, and we have people like Josh out there telling people that it's safe. Okay, guys, so update. Getting a rating of like 2 microsieverts. That's not high. First off, the atoms we're talking about are 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. He can't find nothing. A couple of microsieverts. He's not even supposed to be on microsieverts. You know why they're checking in atoms? Because they're not at the nuclear meltdown site, they're away from it. Radioactive dust in Tokyo at 4,000 atoms a kilogram. But it doesn't, all right, let's see, here we go. Now it's going up again, 1.8. There's something here, but it's slightly more radiated. It's 40,000 microsievert thyroid dose for Alaska children, for goodness sakes. He's saying it's like a chest x-ray. You're still getting 0.5. He's got every lie perfect, doesn't he? He got every propaganda slur ready to go in a drop of a hat. Like to equate, like it's in your body. It's pulsing energy at the speed of light every second. It's wrecking chromosomes and DNA and cells for the rest of your life. Your body is going to come out and attack each or try to fix everything that's damaged every second, which you can't do. And it's going to attack the source relentlessly from every direction because you make white blood cells everywhere besides your spleen, all your joints. It's going to utilize that to attack the source because it explodes almost at the speed of light every second. And nobody has an autoimmune trigger to defend against, except apparently for Josh and Cody, which they don't, by the way. To go into a nuclear wasteland for 5 days. It was 176 microsieverts per hour at elementary school. In the school gate, in the pool, in the gym. And it takes 1,000 microsieverts to just make a millisievert. So he's telling every lie the public relation firms use, isn't he, tonight? So it's not an issue there, he said. See, clearly what we're seeing, he's doing a public relation campaign, and he's coached. Children with over 11 atoms, not microsieverts. There are 700 atoms in a microsiever, say. Probably a lot worse than that. But 11 will start to see heart problems. 500,000 atoms and no decontamination, and we can't eat the food grown here, but we're forced to live here. You should force him to live here too. That would be the moral and ethical thing to do to this nightmare, this disaster. It's about what you're breathing in. Yeah, worldwide. Radiation doses in the Northeast and the Great Lakes are equal to the West Coast post-Fukushima. But he's at ground zero, and apparently no adverse side effects whatsoever. And it's like a great vacation for him. Concerns over plutonium and uranium being deposited, reconcentrated far away. The isotopes are transferred to land via sea spray, aerosols, flooding, radioactive fallout, human exposures by inhalation, food, contact. Does anybody really think he's not in constant contact with radiation, breathing it in and absorbing it? It's not getting in his eyes and coming in through the tear ducts and everything else. This is sulfur peroxide, hydrogen buckyballs again. References. Spears of radioactive material from Fukushima reported. This was for the first time. Solid and insoluble. Impact on the human health because everything is a hot particle. And they're in the most hot particle place on the planet. Or it depends what the radiation again. There's alphas. He doesn't have a fucking clue. U.S. West Coast board, there's 1,000 fission products you're worried about. It's not just alphas, gammas, betas, and neutrons and X-rays by proxy. There's 1,000 physical atoms you're worried about. Uranium, all their daughters, plutonium, all their daughters, americium, all their daughters, and the list goes on 1,000 times. West Coast bore significant brunt of hot particles. And hot particles. Everything from a nuclear meltdown is a hot particle. He's going to pay for what he's doing. He's stuttering there. He doesn't know what to say. He's trying to look smart. He's got it written down. Somebody written down for him or something. Groundbreaking study, because he got all the cliches. Groundbreaking study reveals Fukushima nuclear waste is poisoning wildlife. Up to 99% of the offsprings died after eating low-level contaminated food. Yeah, but nothing can happen to Josh. Two other ones, and most likely we're getting alpha. Any kind of nuclear radiation is the most carcinogenic thing that exists. But it has all kinds of other brutal attributes too. Alright guys, now we save what I think was two other ones. Most likely we're getting alpha. I went back to that one, that's right. Aerosols in the United States, Washington were 100,000 times normal. Don't worry about alphas. Don't worry about betas and gammas and neutrons. Worry about the 1,000 fission products that are getting through your mass because it's so ineffective. It's like the weakest one. These are public relation cliches I've heard so many times, we've covered so many times, it's ridiculous, every one of them. Right, it's a little bit slower than the speed of light, but it's almost the speed of light. They're all almost the speed of light. One is a bit slower than the other four, right? But they're all almost the speed of light. And so when you talk about almost the speed of light, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit. So he's been trained, he's been coached significantly, and I would imagine lots of it was written down or is on his phone there for him to recite. Nowhere to run. Hot radioactive particles in Seattle. 50% of the levels seen in Tokyo latches onto the lung tissue. But not Josh, no. He's invincible, right? All right, guys. Now we say what I think was. Look at all the watches, dude. And this is horrific to watch the stuff he's talking about. Very expensive watches. 32,000 yen. Very expensive watches. Everything else. Like, what crazy is you're in a nuclear wasteland? You're touching stuff, you're opening doors, you're opening drawers, you're picking up stuff. You're wiping your hands on your clothing. You're wiping this stuff into your skin. You're breathing it in, you're through your mouth, through your nose, through the pores of your skin. You're literally a walking disaster. North America received quite a large fall, incredible increases in cancers, leukemia, genetic diseases, not just in Japan, but the Northern Hemisphere, particularly North America, Canada, United States. They're in a nuclear wasteland. They're in a radioactive no-go zone. And they think everybody left the jewelry there because they're stupid. There's watches, so guys, we've seen this up to $650 in watches, just one. The radiation in the United States was incredible, and every time we look at this stuff, is when you add it all up at the end of the show, all of this stuff I showed you, how can you live in denial? How does that work? These people are, all the chains are gone, all the necklaces are gone. I would imagine they're stupid enough to loot some stuff themselves. New York Times contributor confirmed California had 181 times above drinking water standards. And these were most likely bracelets. Forecast shows a radioactive cloud stretching from Japan all around the planet back to Japan. There's more like it. And then he does something extraordinary. I mean, the dust is stacked up, worldwide. But to go into the nuclear wasteland, just get a load of this one here. See, they don't understand when they breathe out, they also breathe back in. They believe the lie, right? And they just regurgitated the lie, and they got extra points for every lie they told in their video, I would imagine. Extra paycheck for every lie they told in the video. And they gave them all the lies, and then they just spit it out as often as they could. Like, the evidence that America was devastated is unassailable. But when you see this, you're in a nuclear wasteland and you're looking at that kind of stuff there, and you don't get the fuck out of there, you're literally an idiot. You're literally an idiot. Sun's coming down, so sweaty, so hot. Now people did steal the rings, people did steal the necklaces. Really expensive watches and clocks, like, there's stuff everywhere. Yeah, because it's a nuclear wasteland. It's much easier to actually take a video and walk around than it is to take photos. You gotta take the tripod out. It's a lot of work, Dana. You only got 5 days. I know when I'm out doing research, I shoot 2,000 pictures. I'm in a boat. I'm driving a boat, and I'm going along the coastline and going up on the beaches, snapping pictures and documenting. They haven't got the time to take pictures. He likes to take precise shots. So they couldn't do it, so they didn't. Want to post it on the internet, you can't do it unless it's perfect. But I've never seen him do anything perfect. Okuma, which is on the other side of the plant, south of World War II. Probably unseen by many. But here's a street that is just so unreal. It's the red zone. In 2019, I guess. I can't wrap my mind around this. This kind of contempt, eh? I show you pictures of the one-ton bags. There's 150,000 sites like that in 2016. 2019 was 105,000 sites. Streetlights are working. You got to keep the illusion alive. I feel dirty after doing a video with these people. You know what I mean? Like what they done is it's the lowest form of life conceivable to do and tell the lies that they told. It's the most disgusting thing imaginable to tell the lies they told. It's hard because you're talking about so much harm that they're going to cause by doing what they're doing, right? They're going to destroy so many people's lives who trust them. And for many, many years, because they won't take that video down. So that video will be out there manipulating people for forever. And all they had to do would be real people. They can't do that. This was 2019. Oh, well, like there's heart problems, liver problems, lung problems will show up before cancer. Pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline problems will show up before cancer. There's all kinds of health issues will show up before cancer, and they'll write it off as other things. Fatigue. They're definitely suffering from some significant symptoms. They got lots of money. They got almost 5 million subscribers. It will show up. There's no doubt about it. Is Japan super evil for tricking YouTubers exploring with Josh into exploring the nuclear wasteland? Yeah, that's evil. Even though the kids bought into it and regurgitated all the propaganda they were told, it's still evil to do it. And because they got a big audience, there's a big incentive to do it. And they're notorious for doing that. Not many people were stupid enough to go there. Josh was. Cody was. They had permission, of course. It's absurd. The whole story is absurd. Well, that's it for day and night. I'm not sure if I'm coming back tomorrow night. I'm busted up, eh? I fell down a few weeks, 3 weeks ago now or something. I probably will be back tomorrow night, but just in case I don't show up tomorrow night. Just because if I don't show up tomorrow night, don't be surprised. And it's been 3 weeks since we raised any money. Must be nice to be Josh. They don't have to worry about raising money. Don't be surprised. So if you go under my video and go down to the description, at the bottom you'll see PayPal and at my website. And PayPal, you can use any credit card, any bank card. You don't need an account to donate. And you can use credit cards at my website. There's never been an issue, and that site's 11 years old. There's 4 million redacted emails about Fukushima at the NRC's website. But the only thing that matters is let's go while we're here. Might as well check and see if James got any. James been killing it with music. He's got 1.34 thousand subscribers, so he's went up another jump. He's got a new song here. We'll play that tonight as we'll roll out on that song. That's awesome. I haven't heard it yet, but the new software that he's using is just amazing. Anti-nuclear songs. He's got about 170 songs there. should be downloading them and putting them on your kids' phones. And the kids will get rid of any that they're not. But he's got many different genres, right? I can't impress enough, and I'm trying to promote that music, because music is amazing. We're going to close it up tonight on that. We haven't raised any money in 3 weeks, folks, so if you can donate anything, it helps. And we're going to play James's most recent song. I put the headphones on so make sure it's not too loud. And hopefully we see you tomorrow night, but most likely Sunday night. But I might show up tomorrow night, it's hard to say. Last night was a tough show. Today's is a really tough show to do. I was originally really angry when I was watching the video, and then when I was putting the story together, I stopped being angry and I started saying to myself, this is a public relation we're looking at. It's not stupid. Yeah, they're stupid, but they're greedy.
They call the shots, they map the skies, each plume erased by calculated lies.
These are anti-nuclear songs.
The air feels clear, the fields seem wide, but the numbers work what they decide. A structured tale, a hidden trace, the obfuscation engine keeps its pace. From 3 miles release to Fukushima's wave, a crafted screen conceals the grave. They shape the skies, they chart the rain, each number bent to fit the frame. Decisions made, no ground in view, the fallout fades from what they knew. Obfuscation, they guide the flow, shift the scales, make it so. N-A-R-A-C, what do you say? How do you hide the cost today? The screens project, the figures sway, a story built to drift away. Their models twist, the scope refines, but fractures grow between the lines. Decision makers watch the feed, but only see what's guaranteed. The ground ignored, the maps erase, a silent void beneath the trace. They shape the skies, they chart the rain, each number bent to fit the frame. Decisions made, no ground in view, the fallout fades from what they knew. Obfuscation, they guide the flow, shift the scales, make it so. N-A-R-A-C, what do you say? How do you hide the cost today? They map the plumes, they twist the streams, each chart designed to shift extremes. Beyond the screen, the loss takes hold, but what they bury won't stay cold. Won't stay cold, won't stay cold. Obfuscation, they guide the flow, shift the scales, make it so. N-A-R-A-C, what do you say? How do you hide the cost today?
Hiding truth in the cold. Obfuscation, they guide the flow, shift the scales, make it so.